How Jordan Travis can win the Heisman Trophy.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back in, everyone. I am Brian Smith, your host of the Locked On Seminoles podcast. Thank you very much for making this your first listen each and every day. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Network, your team every day. Today is a rather unique episode. I usually start with recruiting. I'm actually going to end with recruiting today. But the reason for that is to do justice for Jordan Travis. Florida State's quarterback is not a normal guy, and he's just a tremendous human being, and Florida State fans should be proud of that. Going to talk about his matchups. Going to talk about playing against Drake Maye, different guys on the schedule. We've got some pretty interesting situations coming up against, Florida State this year. Like, it's not easy to win a Heisman. There's so many parts, and I can only do so much in a half-hour show, but like Drake Maye, even though the schedule isn't a part of it per se, but going up against him in the ACC is the first part of the win, and that's what this is going to be about. Also going to talk a little bit about Luke Kromenhoek. I think he's a lot like Jordan Travis in the fact that he is a unique young man on the field, off the field. I've had the pleasure of knowing him for a few years, and I was messaging with him yesterday. We're trying to set up a date for me to come up and see him play in Savannah, Georgia, do an interview, kind of go over Benedictine, the military school he goes to, and just kind of his background. So those are some of the things we're going to be highlighting today, and it's going to be a lot of fun. First off, LinkedIn Jobs. Please take a look at our key sponsor for today. If you are like me and you've been in this situation probably before, if you run your own business or you're trying to hire for the company you work for, it's not easy to hire people. It's just not. You have to do your due diligence. That's on you, certainly. But if you don't use the resources like LinkedIn, you're only cutting yourself a little bit short. I'm not going to go into a lot of specifics about my own hiring experiences, especially with interns that I've had at different places, but it is a very daunting task. So please take a look at LinkedIn Jobs. It's a great opportunity. It's a company, especially the way they have it set up on their website. It makes it very easy to get set up and to put up an ad. Here's what we offer. This is what we do. And to get people to look at it. It's the most important job company probably in the United States, if not the world. LinkedIn Jobs is very important. This is probably something that I need to get better at myself in finding interns, but that's another story. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. Yeah, it's not easy getting the jobs taken care of, because if you don't hire the right people, your company is probably going to suffer. So let's get into Jordan Travis. Florida State's quarterback is a super, super young man. He represented himself well at ACC Media Days when he was there with Mike Norvell and the Florida State contingent. I haven't met him, but I've had people that I know that have been around him, and obviously the way he presents himself on TV, podcasts, etc., very good, right? He's what you want. He's the poster child of your program because he's your quarterback. Jordan Travis is also something else. He is also someone that is very, very smart in learning the system. And I'm not just talking about off the field. I'm talking about on the field. I'll be the first to admit that a couple of years ago, I think it was 20 or 21, I forget when I came to this conclusion, I didn't think that he was really a quarterback because he just didn't look very comfortable. His body language and everything. Now, playing Power 5 is different than being a South Florida high school quarterback where he's from. He played at the Benjamin School. It's a really elite high school academically, etc. It's over $40,000 a year to go to school there, literally. But he has come a long way. Hard work, dedication, commitment to your teammates through your own efforts, as well as helping them. These are some of the things that I've heard, and many of you probably have as well, about why Jordan Travis has ascended not only to the top of the Florida State quarterback depth chart and the leader of the Noles, but a Heisman candidate. I'm going to pull up, and this is just one sports book, but like this is their odds on the Heisman. It's interesting. BetMGM.com. This is what they have. The last I've seen, I don't think this has changed, but they got Caleb Williams from Southern Cal. Not really a shock. Jaden Daniels, LSU's quarterback, who obviously the Noles play coming up. We're going to talk so much about him. I'm not going to go into much with Jaden today, but that game is critical, obviously, for Jordan Travis. If they beat LSU, it's the biggest game of the first weekend, and he plays better than Jaden. He's got a great shot to win the Heisman. But we're going to talk about Drake Maye in a little bit. Quinn Ewers, Michael Penix, both quarterbacks. This one blows my mind because I think it's completely overrated. Cade Klubnik, Clemson, he's only a sophomore. Come on, man. That's ridiculous. Then it's Jordan Travis. Not to have Travis above Klubnik is hilarious. And that tells me a lot of Clemson fans are drinking the Kool-Aid, because in case you didn't know, betting is based on, they want it right down the middle because they get 10% juice, give or take, on a lot of these bets. Maybe more, maybe a little less, depending. Somebody's betting a lot on Cade Klubnik. It's a little early for him to win the Heisman, but whatever. Sam Hartman, Bo Nix are also below Klubnik, which is just bizarre. I'm very curious about why they have it that way, and I'm going to back my information up with stats. Klubnik started a little bit at the end last year for Clemson. He's very good. I saw him the Elite 11 a few years ago. Tremendous football player. Many people, Sports Illustrated, et cetera, ranked him as a 5-star. That's fine. But at the same time, you're looking at a situation where he's only a sophomore. He's only started a few games. Like Sam Hartman, Notre Dame's thrown 110 touchdowns. Jordan Travis, who I'll read his stats in a second, was one of the best players in the country last year. That's very weird to me. So I don't get it. But here are the stats last year for Jordan. Passing first, 226 of 353, 64%, 3,214 yards, averaging 9.1 yards per pass. If you're over 8, you're doing pretty good. If you're up to 9, you're in really good situation there. So that he hit some big plays, and his receivers certainly helped him. A certain tall receiver in particular. We'll talk more about him over the next week or two before the LSU game. Here's the most important stat, especially as it relates to passing for Travis. 24 passes, made touchdowns. Bottom line, did you get 6? You got 24 passing touchdowns. And he's a runner, so he still got 24 because they're going to use the run game more in the red zone a little bit more than most teams in college football because Jordan can take off. And he still got 24. And he only threw 5 picks. That's very close to a 5-to-1 ratio. If you're at 3-to-1, just 3-to-1, that's excellent. He's almost at 5. Again, this is Power 5 football. Jordan Travis backed it up. He went from the guy that I thought, I don't even know why he's playing quarterback a few years ago, to being a dominant football player. That's just passing. Then you add in the rushing stats, which read as follows. 82 carries, 417 yards, 5.1 yards per tote, and 7 scores. And an asterisk next to that. This is something you'll hear me say 1,000 times on this show because it drives me nuts. Every league, et cetera, has their own way of doing stats. Well, the NFL does it right. The NCAA doesn't do it right. Sacks, when like Travis, there's a bust up front, he gets hit. That yardage goes against his rushing total, not the team's passing total. That's how the NFL does it. The NCAA will take, if he loses 15 yards in sacks in a game, that comes off his rushing total. So he averaged 5 yards a carry. He probably averaged about 6, if not even more, because of the sacks. So I didn't go in and average it out or whatever, go through and find all of them, take forever, but that's ridiculous. So over 5 yards a carry, even with the way the NCAA does the statistics, and he's an almost 5-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio guy. That alone backs up the fact that he is a Heisman candidate this year. Experience, you got Wilson, you got Coleman, you got all these guys coming back. The running back room's good. The offensive line, as I've noted before, Phil Steele has said over 200 starts. He's never seen that stat before at any spot. Over 200 starts collectively amongst the guys competing up front for the Noles. So Travis should be protected pretty well, obviously. So that's very important. I'm not sure that we're going to see many guys like that it's really important to keep him healthy anyway. He's a runner. He's going to take some more hits, but that O-line is really important. Please do note that I'm not saying this is a guarantee for Jordan to win the Heisman. I'm just saying he should be higher up than what he is based on those MGM numbers that I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast. And again, the numbers back it up. These are facts. I think he should be one of the top 5 guys in it. The numbers back that up. And if, again, they beat LSU in game 1, obviously Jordan is going to be a major part of that. Why wouldn't he be? That's what I'm more concerned about. Where you start is one thing. How you start to ascend if you do well is another. I'll be curious what the odds are like the middle of the week after the LSU game, assuming the Noles come out on top. Where does he end up then? That would be the bigger piece for me. And I'm not sure there's a great way to project it, but he'd have to go up, right? I mean, why would he not? So second segment, we're going to go into a little bit about why Jordan Travis is going to have other opportunities besides the LSU game. I'm going to talk a little bit about competing against Drake Maye and the ACC in general. It's something I think it's underrated. It's a personal pet peeve of mine about the quarterback play in the ACC. It's really good. So we're going to talk about that. But first off, please note, I appreciate you coming on to Locked On Seminoles. To check it out, please like, please subscribe, please hit that notification bell. It helps us very much. I'm a big fan of this. It's a blast to be in the state of Florida. I am blessed. I'm going up very soon, hopefully today. I'm trying to work it out to go see Artavius Jones and some other guys at Florida State's trying to flip from Miami, etc. Going around seeing recruits. You're going to get unique perspectives that you're not going to get other places. So I'm not here to really do a podcast like somebody else does it. I'm going to do it the way I do it. And you guys can take it for what it is, but recruiting centric game previews, why players have success or don't. I'm very big on stats. Those are the things I'm going to do. So segment 2 is unique because the ACC, if you're a Florida State fan, obviously you hear about the conference realignment and all that. It takes a beating in a lot of ways. I got a bunch of stats here because I just went through just to refresh myself, and I'm writing them down to try to help me remember. And you got Cade Klubnik, who we mentioned at Clemson. He's going to be really good, but he hasn't backed it up yet. He's going to be, first full year as the starter for the Tigers will be this year. You got Brennan Armstrong that came over to NC State. You have a really, really good football player in Riley Leonard, who doesn't get enough credit at Duke. He's going to be an NFL player. You got Tyler Van Dyke at Miami. You have Florida, this is the game itself. That'll be at the end of the kind of the culmination of all this on top of the ACC games. I want to just mention that. I think Florida State's going to curb stomp Florida, but that's another story. But when you play all these games against good quarterbacks, you can have some fun games that get a lot of media attention. And then there's the Drake Maye kind of deal. Like he's going to get the most hype, and he's phenomenal. He would be the guy I would take number 1 in the draft, even over Caleb Williams because he's got the bigger frame. Just my opinion. So how does Jordan Travis use this schedule, talking the ACC about Drake Maye, etc.? How does he use that to his advantage? Well, here are the things. Number 1, we already talked about the Clemson game. That'll be coming up. The LSU game's first. Those two are very important. Clemson, September 3rd is LSU in Orlando, just to say it. September 23rd, that game is at Clemson. If you win that game on the road in Death Valley, which I think there's a really good chance, I'll take the experienced quarterback. I'm telling you right now, I'm picking Florida State to win that game. Now, full disclosure, I'm picking Florida State to win that game. I do not trust Clemson. Now, I'm going to go into more detail on this a little bit later as we get closer to the game, but Dabo completely failed last year in his coordinators. And to his credit, he fixed it to a certain degree and made changes. We think he fixed it. But he's got a sophomore quarterback, and his defense got punched in the mouth last year a couple of times. Notre Dame in particular just ran over them, and Florida State's running game is good. I think it's very similar to Notre Dame, and they even got a running quarterback like Travis. Again, coming back to him, I think if they win, and they probably will, in my opinion, he will be the reason. That'll be a nationally televised game. And then you also, down the stretch, this is interesting. The Duke game is underrated. I'm telling you, Riley Leonard is really good, y'all. He is really good. That is October 21st. Middle of the season, the hype starts to build. You have more shows about the Heisman. It's just true. Every year it's the same. It could be NBC, it could be Fox, it could be whatever news network you go to. They're going to have Heisman chatter middle of the season on because there's more data points. It's just easier, more film. Fair enough. If they get through that game against Duke undefeated, I would bet you right now that Jordan's in the top 3 for the Heisman race, if not even number 1. Obviously, part of that is going to depend on the game. Caleb Williams and USC play a very cupcake schedule. Their first true test is at Notre Dame. I think it's the same weekend that Duke plays host to the Noles. They could very easily lose. They're not great in the trenches. I like Notre Dame there. But then you got Pittsburgh November 4th, Miami on the 11th, and then the game against Florida. I know it's Florida. They're not that good right now, but it's a rivalry game. It'll be nationally televised, blah, blah, blah. That's a big game for him to finish. You got to finish well. So all of these things going on. And then the ACC, it would be cool. I don't know how it's going to work out because the ACC is so topsy-turvy. I hate picking it. I even thought about doing a show. Hey, how's the ACC going to work out this year? I have no freaking clue. I have no freaking clue. The reason why I don't, and this sucks, but it's just the way it is, every year I go through pick leagues, and then one guy gets hurt or whatever, and it just goes sideways. So Florida State and Clemson should be at the top, but it would not be anything at all for me to be surprised if any of NC State, Miami, or you know what? It could be Pittsburgh. Like Pittsburgh a couple years ago just shocked the crap out of everybody. They got to play at Pitt on November 4th, and that defense is legit. They had 48 sacks, I believe it was last year. Why not? You could have something like that. We don't know. But if it could happen, the best thing for Jordan Travis to win the Heisman specifically, not necessarily Florida State, the best thing for him would be to face off against Drake Maye in the ACC title game because Drake Maye is Drake Maye. That's why I put it up there on the sidebar on this podcast for segment 2. If that game could happen, even if Caleb Williams is undefeated during the regular season, it could put him in contention right there at the end. Because if you win a game against the other guy that's probably a Heisman, it's going to give you an extra data point. It'd be pretty interesting. So that's a very important part of winning the Heisman. What was your Heisman moment? Everybody's probably seen the Flutie pass 10 times, if not more. I think it was 84 when he threw the bomb against Miami, the Hail Mary. That was Flutie's Heisman moment. What can it be for Jordan Travis? A read option play, etc. We don't know exactly, but there's a lot of possibilities there. If the Noles win and he's consistent, like I mentioned earlier in segment 1, 24 touchdowns to 5 interceptions last year, if he has that same kind of ratio and the Noles are winning, let's say they're 11-1 in the regular season. I don't know. Let's say they're 11-1 and they go into that game and they beat Carolina. Man, that would be exciting stuff. I have no idea how Carolina is going to finish. I did one of these charts and kind of went through and I had some upsets and stuff. And I just I'm not even going to do this. It's impossible with as topsy-turvy as the ACC is. But I'm just saying that game is very, very important. So as we get ready for segment number 3, please note once again, this is a really important thing. I'm getting this podcast started. I want you all to be with me every day on the YouTube channel, etc. If you have things you want to talk about, somebody mentioned yesterday, hey, do some stuff with the upcoming recruits for Florida State, which is right up my alley. Please do. If there's other things you want to hear about a specific player for the Noles, if there's something that you want in terms of a matchup, something that's not been discussed, I don't know, outside linebackers for the LSU Tigers versus the tight ends for Florida State or whatever, drop me a note. You can find me at FBScout_Florida. There's a lot of different things I talk about there with all the different things in Florida in general. You might be able to pick up some of the information there anyway, but send me a note. I'll be happy to do it. I'm going to try and figure out a way to really be as broad-based as I can in addition to recruiting. So, and again, please hit that like button, the notification bell, and share this podcast and comment. I'm happy to do that. This last segment, though, is something that I'm very fond of. Luke Kromenhoek, he's committed to the Noles class of 2024. Florida State was actually his first commitment. He went to the football camp in Tallahassee, played well. Norvell offered him. Not long after he was committed, I remember talking to him like, you sure you wanted to commit that early? We don't know what's going on at Florida State yet. They weren't that good. He's backed it up. He knew more than me. I remember talking to him about it. I'm like, you could have a lot of options. A lot of people didn't know about him at the time because he's from Savannah. But he's like, yep, I want to go to Florida State. I'm like, okay, well, that's cool then. Like, he was just dialed in. Usually I don't like it when kids commit. It was like sophomores or whatever, but that kid knew what he wanted. Him and Norvell clicked, and hats off to both of them. They figured it out. And man, is he good. He's gotten so much better from the time I met Luke to now. And I just recently watched a few of his highlights in their first game. They smoked the team. Benedictine military, they won the state title, and they've got a lot of talent again. He's got a really good running back. And they've kind of just done whatever works for the team, and he's fit in. But they've also adapted to Luke too. So you got to give Benedictine's coaching staff some credit. Now, why am I excited about him? He made us look like a big arm pocket passer, and he can do that. But at this stage, compared to Jordan Travis, completely different. He's much higher up the ladder. And unbeknownst to many, but not me, and now you know as well, based on the following, he can run. He will run over somebody, he will make somebody miss, and he has open field speed. Luke Kromenhoek can run the same offense that Jordan Travis is currently running for the Noles. And that's important. Florida State needs guys like that to make plays in space. Most teams do. Mike Norvell's offense really feeds off of it. The outside zone. The give. Oh, we pulled it. They drop it over the line. The RPO game, they do it very, very well. It's hard to go against Mike's offense. That being stated, you still need a trigger man that can run once in a while, just on a naked boot. Quarterback draw. There was a quarterback draw for Luke actually in his first game. When you do that, you slow down the pass rush. And you actually take fewer hits because you can slide on the run. They'll teach him that. He needs to do that a little bit more than he does in high school. But Kromenhoek is really good in the open field and making plays. And then that'll extend to one of the things as his game grows. He's already good at second and third reads for a high school kid, but as a college player, that's going to go way up. When he rolls that pocket or he's flushed, perhaps both, he finds second and third level guys down the field. He can hit big shots. There were a couple plays this spring when I was at a 7-on-7 tournament close to where I live. I'm in the end zone, and Luke just threw a dime. And that pass really kind of caught my attention. I got lucky where it was. And it went past the linebacker, just in between the safety and the quarter, like precision. And he had to have the arm strength to do it. And Luke's got a gun. When you add quarterbacks like that to your depth chart, let the chips fall where they may with who competes and wins. I'm not going to get into what I think he's going to do in terms of when he's going to start, if he's going to start, etc. He has to win it like anybody else, in his own due time. But this pushes the pile, and that's the point of this. Luke Kromenhoek is the kind of guy that can one day be in the Heisman race for the Noles too. He has that kind of mental fortitude to get better. I've seen it with my own eyes. It's fact. He's a very likable young man, just like Jordan, easygoing, just all shucks, happy to be here, but works his tail off. He was tremendous at the Elite 11 in Orlando that I saw. He was tremendous in 7-on-7 this spring. He started this season tremendous. He's gotten so much better. You know he's going to push that pile when he gets to Tallahassee. And then he's going to get bigger, faster, stronger, too, in the Florida State strength and conditioning program. This is a very good sign for the future of Florida State football. I'm a big fan of Luke. I think he's going to be a tremendous football player. And most importantly, I think he's a young man that gets it when it comes to one other thing. Just being humble. You're not necessarily just going to walk into Florida State and start. He knows that. Doesn't mean he's not going to try. He's a freshman. Why wouldn't you? I'm telling you, he will stick it out and he will compete his tail end off. That is something you cannot teach. His effort is the reason that gets him over the top and allows him to be eventually a big-time college and maybe even an NFL player. So God gave him the gifts physically He's developed them, but he uses it on and off the field. So great young man, and really, really happy that he's going to get a shot to play at Florida State one day. For that, thank you very much for the everydayers already. We're starting to build this. Once again, please hit that subscribe button. This is going to be a really fun podcast, especially in the next few weeks. Really close to diving in. I'm doing some research on LSU, but their depth chart, like Florida State's in fall camp, is evolving. A podcast I did recently, there's been guys move around, guys got hurt. That's college football. Going to have to basically reset, if you will. It's like a game of chess. You just start it all over because the pieces are moving. We got to get back to ground zero on that here pretty soon. But thanks once again for tuning in. Everybody have a great day, and I will talk to you very soon.